Thanks for pressing play. This is the Pirate Street Journal. 3 topics from business, tech, enterprise software, and the consumer, all through a category design lens. 10 minutes per topic, 30 minutes total. I'm Bree Clark. With me is Eddie Yoon and Christopher Lockhead. Hey ho, let's go. Topic 1. A new category of philanthropy has been created, charitable investing, which is way different than charitable giving. SpaceX's president and a chip giant just showed us how. Topic 2. The World Cup is on American soil. Everyone's arguing about a $17 billion payday, and the economists call it a rounding error. They're all counting the wrong number. Topic 3. Black Rifle Coffee Company ran a coffee ad with no coffee in it, and we think it'll be one of the smartest pieces of marketing you'll see all year. We are recording on Wednesday, July 8th. Hey ho, let's go. Topic 1. Charitable investing versus charitable giving. Invest America accounts are live thanks to the leadership of Brad Gerstner. Every kid born between 2025 and 2028 gets one seeded with $1,000 invested in an S&P 500 index fund. Then the money started showing up. On Monday, Gwen Shotwell, the president and COO of SpaceX, said she and her husband are gifting a chunk of their SpaceX stock into more than 2 million of these accounts, aimed at kids aged 11 to 17 and less affluent areas. Her stake, for context, was about 12.6 million SpaceX shares. A week before that, Micron committed $250 million, the biggest corporate commitment of its kind, seeding up to 1 million kids' accounts and matching its own employees up to $1,000 a child. For a century, this kind of giving moved one way. A billionaire writes a check, a foundation cuts a grant, then the money gets spent. What Shotwell and Micron are doing looks different. They're handing kids the stock itself. Micron is turning up to 1 million children into shareholders in the S&P 500. And instead of being spent down, those dollars sit in an index fund and compound for the next 18 years. So, Eddie, is this just a tax-friendly headline or a new category of charity?
Well, first off, let's give credit where credit's due. Credit to Brad Gerstner for coming up with this idea on Invest America. Credit for Michael Dell and others for getting behind it. Credit to the president and the administration for making it happen real time. And credit to Gwen Shotwell, one of the great executives we have in the tech space, and been there from some of the very beginnings of SpaceX. And note that she is donating a lot of money and a large percentage of her net worth, right? She has 12.6 million shares, about call it 2 billion, depending upon the day. It's about a sixth of her basic total shares that she's giving. So I mean, maybe she's sitting on other shares that we don't know about and other companies and whatnot, but like not a tiny 0.1001% gift of her net worth. This is a significant chunk. So credit to her, credit to Micron. And what I really, really like about this is that they are donating stock directly into these accounts. And so why does that matter? Is that, the problem is that charitable giving as a category is broken. And that's the root cause of the problem. And this is from, Pirate Christopher, Pirate Eddie, Pirate Bree. We've all given lots of money to charity. It's a really important value for us. And as somebody who primarily now, the way that we give is we give stock, it kind of bums me out. We donate a lot of stock that is highly appreciated. So yeah, there's a tax benefit to it, but the charity is supposed to sell it so that they can cash it out versus hold it. That's kind of the charitable giving idea, is that it's an expense, not an asset. That's kind of the first part, right? Number two is that when, I hate to say it, that a lot of charitable giving, there's some inefficiency, not always run as efficiently as they can as organizations grow. It's not specific to any one charity, but the larger a company gets, the more they focus on their own survival and their own benefit. And, companies spawn committees and that spawns G&A. And that there's a lot of charitable giving organizations that aren't very efficient at what they do. And so the dollar that gets there, not all of it or very little of it actually gets to the people that they intend to help. And that the third and probably most fundamental problem of charitable giving is that it's giving away fish, not teaching people to fish. And that's the significant problem that we have there, is that, show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. You give me a fish, I expect more fish. I have no incentive to learn how to fish, right? The great Charlie Munger taught us that. And what we are describing is charitable investing, which is a very, very different form of category of giving. Christopher and I, we wrote about justice deposits as a way of supporting Black banks and how do we help African Americans rise up was to make sure their banks are well capitalized so that they can lend money to the communities at a rate that does not have the redlining or some of the old school racism that was built into that. But even that, a justice deposit is still a cash deposit that bears interest that you can be loaned against. It's a version of what we're talking about, but this is the real deal because charitable investing teaches people how to invest. It teaches people how to fish. It it aligns incentives, right? What happens when the CEO Sanjay of Micron donates $250 million worth of Micron stock to the Trump accounts, these Invest America accounts? Both sides want the Micron stock to go up. Every child in America wants Micron stock to go up. Everybody wants Micron stock to go up. And that there's a real kind of virtuous cycle here where you're teaching people how to fish, everybody's incentives are aligned, and then more importantly, you're creating financial literacy, an incentive to become financially literate from the very, very beginning. And that so many kids are not that, so many adults are not financially literate. And even worse, it's not taught in school, it's not taught in colleges, it's not taught in families. If you're really, really lucky, you have somebody who kind of pulls you aside and teaches you the ins and outs of how it works. And so this is a massive difference. We're so grateful for that it's happening, but we are predicting actually that the category of charitable giving will decrease over time as people realize this is a way better way of doing it in charitable investing, and that the category of charitable investing will grow and grow and grow, and the Invest America accounts are leading the way.
That was great, Eddie. In addition, I'd add there's a couple powerful things here to get back to your question, Bree. This is absolutely a new category of charity investing, and there's an element of this that the internet makes possible called peer to peer or P2P for short. So what's happening now is there's no NGO or nonprofit in between those of us who want to make a donation to these America accounts. And to be clear, what these America accounts mean is every child born in America gets $1,000 in America in the S&P 500. You become a citizen and a capitalist on day one. And if you want everybody to have access to the American dream, make them a capitalist on day one. Let them understand if I invest today, compound annual growth rate for the S&P 500 is approximately 10%. There's a magic of time there, right? And making it available for anybody who loves that child to donate to those accounts is an extraordinary thing. What the principal design here of this investing in a charitable way is the fact that it's peer to peer. There is no NGO taking a vig along the way. The accounts are controlled in terms of what they're for. You can only use them for these things, and in this way, the child has to be 18, etc. There's a whole bunch of governance around the investment, but the bottom line is it's direct. And so here's what we imagine happening. This P2P direct internet model is a harbinger of things to come. Let's say I'm somebody who wants to donate to underprivileged communities to improve the cost of housing. Well, rather than giving it to a nonprofit, if you can imagine this type of mechanism as a framework going forward, those of us who wanted to do that could invest directly into accounts that go to people in specific areas for specific things. It could be healthcare, like an HSA account. It could be homes. It could be helping them find new jobs. It could be, if you think about all the things that we would like to donate our money to because we love our country and we want everybody to do well. If we were able to do it with no NGO in the way, a direct shot to the person who needs it through an investing lens with governance around what they can and can't do with the money, we are going to unleash a massive amount of this new kind of direct P2P investing directly to make a difference for people.
And what I also love about it, Christopher, is that inherently it forces every child in America to learn and pass the marshmallow test, right? If I give you a marshmallow, you can eat it now, or if you wait, you can get two, or in this case, 100x down the road, because time in market so much more important than timing the market, right? And so you have compounding early on. And by the way, from a gift giving perspective, I always talked about the massive, hundreds of billions of dollars and gift cards is America's way of saying we suck at giving gifts. So here's a gift card type of a thing. This is a way better gift, right? Is to gift directly into Invest in America account as an uncle, as a grandfather, as whatever, to put it in there. And that so not only do you have kind of the marshmallow test being passed, you also have the stewardship and excellence test being passed because you know what? I want the charitable investing to go to the best of the best stewards of capital, right? It's going, SpaceX stock is effectively a child having a share in some of the greatest entrepreneurs and executives that are going to take us to the moon and beyond with Elon and Gwen Shotwell, right? Micron, OG, category king in the memory space. In my prediction, all of the Mag 7 Plus are going to follow suit, because, Zuck always follows suit anyway. So you'll see Meta donating to this as well. And that what you end up happening is that you no longer get well meaning people, probably, who are stewarding charitable giving but without the competence and excellence that some of these capital stewards have. Like you just bypass all of that, and that you bypass agendas, you bypass, whether they're good at that or not. It goes directly to the end user for their benefit, for them to pass the marshmallow test, and that we have run the math. If you read our 25 predictions for the next 25 years on America's 250th birthday, you know that this strategy is critical to a number of things coming true, which is to say, every child will become a millionaire in their late 20s or early 30s, and this is a core part of it.
Quick break, pirates. Everything Pirate Eddie just said about the consumer, he's been saying things like that for 20 years across Harvard Business Review and now Category Pirates. Everything Pirate Christopher just said about category design, he literally wrote the book on it. 3-time public company CMO, co-author of Play Bigger. Now imagine both brains on demand for your business, your career, your next decision. That's the Pirate Eddie bot and the Pirate Christopher bot, trained on every Category Pirates mini book ever written, every super consumer framework, every creator capitalist take, and every category design playbook. You ask, they answer, in their voice with their lens. They come with the founding tier on Substack alongside the full mini book library, the audiobook library, digital copies of all 7 of our big books, and every Scooby snack we drop. You can find it at categorypirates.news/subscribe. Now let's get back into the next topic. Topic 2, the World Cup economy. The World Cup is here across 11 U.S. host cities, and everyone is fighting over one number. FIFA projects about $17 billion in U.S. GDP and 185,000 jobs. The Economists fire back that it's less than 0.1% of the economy, which is a rounding error. It's not really a real growth driver. Both sides are counting the same stuff: tickets, hotels, and hot dogs over 30 days. Brand Finance values Brand America at $37.3 trillion, the most valuable nation brand on earth. Last year, it dropped 7%. That's about $2.6 trillion in brand value gone, the steepest fall of any of the 193 nations they track, right as the world was being warned that America is a place you should be scared to visit. Then the world showed up anyway for FIFA. Millions of visitors, phones out, filming Buc-ee's and Waffle House and free refills like they'd stumbled onto a lost civilization, and telling the folks back home it was nothing like the warnings. This is quietly putting value back onto the American brand at a scale that makes $17 billion look like the tip. So, Christopher, what is the impact most people are missing about FIFA?
So first of all, it's been legendary to have FIFA in the United States of America. Not that I get to speak on behalf of all Americans, but I think a lot of Americans would think that the fun of the games and so forth and so on. But the greatest part about it has been welcoming the world. And the second greatest part about it has been discovering that the anger industrial complex outside of the United States, politicians, media, and social media, have spent the better part of the last decade or so trying to destroy America in people's minds. So create a perception that it's kind of road warrior here. And you even had some international organizations issuing warnings about coming to the United States and so forth and so on. And so you see the damage that has been done to the U.S. For no good reason. And look, you could argue we've done some things that we deserve to be criticized for. Fair enough. But we have now learned the portrayal of America outside of America is ridiculous and wrong. And the reason we know that is because that's what Europeans And that's what Asians are telling us. And I don't know about you guys, but I have fallen in love with watching all these videos, particularly of Europeans in America having a great time, talking about how friendly Americans were. They told them we had horns and we were going to do nasty things to them. And instead, they're getting extra refills and everybody's friendly. And the guys think the gals are beautiful. The gals think the guys are beautiful. And everybody thinks everybody's beautiful. And oh, by the way, air conditioning. And so we're starting to see a real difference. There's something going on here that's fascinating. Not only has the citizen journalism, the P2P journalism of Europeans and Asians coming here and looking at their phones going, literally, we have this in our deep dive. There's a young a British guy who says, I was told it was terrible and I should be terrified and it would be careful and all this sort of stuff. In America, I want to apologize to you. And now I don't want to go home, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so you see these stories all over the place of tourists falling in love with America. And the thing that's going on here is a lightning strike built on top of a lightning strike. So you had FIFA, who does an incredible job of brand relationships. You can currently buy a Dove underarm deodorant that is branded FIFA, right? So they've done these incredible brand collaborations with some of the top fashion companies and designers in the world. There's all sorts of this programmatic stuff going on, but then there's this grassroots thing going on where peer-to-peer on the internet, people are doing citizen journalism, telling them how great America is. And so the bottom line is FIFA has been the greatest modern marketing campaign, lightning strike for improving not just the American brand, but there's another interesting thing going on here. The American category, as we've written about, America is a new category of country. And when the Europeans see the abundance that we have, and when they see that we're not rationing air conditioning at a horrible time where they're doing exactly that in Europe, the bifurcation, the delta, the gap between what American free market capitalism in a democratic system allows for versus one that is more government controlled, they're seeing the difference in abundance. They're seeing how incredible our suburbs are. They're seeing that one of the videos I saw from a young man said, maybe, actually, excuse me, this one was from an older man. He said, maybe the reason they're so happy is because they're so much richer than we are. And the one other point I'll make about that, because I think it's doing great things for America's brand and category, but maybe the greatest value of all is it's reminding Americans how lucky we are to be in America and that our brand of country and our category of country is legendary. So much so that the United States of America is the number one place people want to go. Currently, right now, over 170 million people on planet Earth wish they could move to America. That's the number one requested a place to immigrate to. Number two isn't even half that. And so I think this is really fun. It's legendary marketing because part of it is highly orchestrated and part of it is highly organic. And it is also elevating the category and brand of America for Americans.
To piggyback on that, Pirate Christopher, and to steal a line from Pirate Tom Schwab, what's ordinary to you is extraordinary to others. And we're here recording on the Big Island. And I remember the first time we came here with Pirate Cole, you remember, Christopher, we were driving around and, the Big Island has lots of goats walking around. And that's kind of, I'm used to it. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And Cole's like, there's a baby goat over there. Oh my goodness. And he's losing his mind. And then in essence, that's kind of the experience that we have here. Buc-ee's, Waffle House, we're kind of like, yeah, what's the big deal? It's ordinary to us, but it's extraordinary to the world. And I think that part is such a good reminder to see when you have other people, part of the wonder of traveling, part of the wonder of, meeting other people is that the exchange of not just culture and ideas and food but hey, the ordinary things are extraordinary to you and vice versa. And so I think that's a lot of what's going on is that having, again, the peer-to-peer part that Chris was talking about, them talk about the abundance of America. And it's not just richer monetarily. I think it's the richness of the diversity of America. Like, you talk about like, oh, the glory of being able to travel from Spain to Scandinavia and this and that. But like, boy, oh boy, like going from Maine to Maryland to somewhere else. America's radically different state by state, and it's an experiment in process. And you can just see the wide diversity of kind of what all of there is, and the freedom to kind of design your life comes with the fact that you have many places to choose, and it does not cost you anything to move from one state to another state. And that's the part that I think has been educational. Not only the Europeans. And the others, global travelers seeing like, oh, this is kind of what America's really like. But even as you said, Christopher, for Americans to see like, oh, this is what the game looks like in this state, in this city. This is what the game looks like in this state, in this city. And that, the FIFA experience, wonderful sports brings people together. And you've talked about this long, and Christopher's taught me the greatest form of marketing, stunts and fights. And what the World Cup is a great big fight of who's going to be the best, football player out there. And guess what's happening in short order? The Olympics are coming and it's going to happen again, right? And so there's a real argument to be made about America constantly raising their hand like, hey, we'll host, and that's what you're supposed to do as America. It doesn't have to be that you're the world's policeman. You can be the world's greatest host. If you're the wealthy uncle who has the big house, you invite people over for Thanksgiving. And we should do more of this kind of cultural exchange. We should be inviting more people. We should be hosting more things so that people can experience firsthand kind of what it's like. Because as you said, Christopher, it's the reminder of like, not only to the world, like what I would suggest is largely the Asian play in South Korea and Japan in terms of their category design and their WOM generation for what they do is exporting the beauty of their culture, not just the abundance of their technology, not just their military might and everything else. And so, as a Korean, like it's just kind of shocking to me that kimchi is so popular now and that K-pop and K-dramas are all the thing. But you win the world and you win each other, more national pride, more appreciation, honey than you do with vinegar. And that the ability for America to be reminded of like, hey, we don't just export Hollywood, and it's not just the anti-hero stuff of Breaking Bad, all the kind of like really doom and gloomy stuff. Like there's real positive stuff that's out there. We do it all the time. We just forget that it's glorious and that it's wonderful, and that things like stand-up comedians. That category of stand-up comedy does not exist in certain markets because you cannot tell jokes about the president or anyone else in government in certain places without massive consequences there, right? And so I think
Listen,
it's a
our Supreme Court ruled that you're allowed to burn our flag, and on July 4th, people do.
absolutely. And it's the beauty of that paradox of you have people with the right and the ability and the freedom to burn the flag, and the right for the next topic to do something very different with the flag that makes America so special and unique as a category. And I think, it's just one of those things where um, the beauty of what I hope for with our leadership in DC and abroad and everything else is that don't just send the money abroad, don't just send the aid abroad, host a ginormous party on the regular in the US and invite the world. And that's how you're going to foster collaboration. And that's how you're going to foster, um, real partnership, entrepreneurship. And that's what the World Cup is teaching us. And kudos to FIFA for that.
Topic 3, the coffee ad with no coffee. Black Rifle Coffee Company was founded in 2014 by a Green Beret named Evan Hafer. He was a veteran with a camera and a point of view, and today he does around $390 million a year, and it went public at a $1.7 billion valuation. And it got there by pulling money out of paid ads and pouring it into its own content, its own podcast, and 250,000 Coffee Cub subscribers who would follow the brand anywhere. Which brings us to their swing for America's 250th. Black Rifle Coffee Company towed the largest American flag ever, wrapped it in Sasquatch, guns, and freedom, cut it into a 4th of July ad, and then dropped a full 16-minute behind-the-scenes film about how they pulled it off. Content about the content. And there is no coffee in any of it. No beans, no mug, no roast, no product shot. A coffee company made its biggest ad of the year and never showed the coffee. Instead of chasing the average customer, they aimed straight at their super consumer and knew that a super of one is a super of nine. So, Christopher, why is this the marketing ad of the year?
Well, it's legendary on a lot of dimensions. First of all, it's not an ad. They didn't run it on TV. They did not pay to put it on the Super Bowl. Second of all, they trend jacked America 250. Now, this is a tough thing to do because if you say, hey, I want to take the shine from the country and put it on our company product category and brand, that's a dangerous thing to do because you could piss people off if you get it wrong. What they did was they are a company that has niched down on a super. Their category design is a super, not a product. And this is something we haven't talked much about, but they said our customer are quote unquote patriots, gun lovers, and people who are over the top about our country, are veterans because our founder is a veteran, and that's who they focused on. And they wrap themselves in the flag and they wrap themselves in the military as a category design. And so the reason this was genius was this was in their minds a gift to the country and a gift to their supers, not an ad. This was a fun, over the top, of course, ridiculous thing to do. That was, I would argue, even silly, but fun and over the top America. And here's the other thing they did. And we've dug hard to get some details on this. Details are a little bit hard to get after, but here are the things that we're learning. Many of the people who participated in producing this digital ad did it for free, begged to be able to do it. There's a rumor out there, which we have not been able to confirm, that the company that built the flag did it for free. I don't know if that's true or not, but here's what we do know. Lots of people, when they found out this is what they were doing, said, how can I help? I want to be part of it. And so this is, look, you may or may not like this category design. You may think this kind of American over the top patriotism is ridiculous. You might not even like it. That's okay. I think it's fun, but that's okay. Forget your opinion about the creative for a sec and just think for a minute of how genius it is to be so mission driven for them. This is what they say to their customers, and their customers buy it, that they put the country first and they put their super consumers, their top customers first. And so on America 250, we want to do something that is fun, over the top, and celebratory. And the only thing you see from us is our logo. This is what legendary missionaries do. This is what Sean and the team at Dude Wipes does. This is what Sarah Blakely does when she evangelizes shapewear and Spanx. So forget whether you like or don't like Black Rifle and their content and their category design. This is what geniuses do. They hijack the biggest holiday of the year to promote the things that their customers care about, and they did it in a fun, over the top, attention getting way. And in a way, and this is the most important thing I'm going to say, word of mouth is, was, and always will be the most important form of marketing. I got that video texted to me by at least half a dozen people on the day that it came out. That's digital WOM. Viral, going viral is digital WOM. And so from a pure marketing perspective, they created this asset, this over the top America celebration video, and they did it in a way knowing full well that their supers would share with their other supers, and they, Black Rifle, would be undeniable because of the viral uplift from the digital WOM, because they made something fun and over the top and celebratory for their supers. Nothing about their category, nothing about their brand, all about their supers and their country.
Such a great lightning strike, as you said, Christopher. And there's so many, regardless of what you think about the video and the ad and whatnot. What's to like is that they are so clear on their super. They are so clear on who they are. Founder problem fit. Just ex vet. Green beret. Coffee, and they've done around it. And what's not to like about a legal narcotic business? I love the coffee business. We all love coffee, and legal narcotics are great, great businesses. And, in the world of food and beverage, the more liquid versus solid you are, the higher the margins. And so, coffee is a wonderful business from that standpoint. And at the same time, here's what I know is that there are very, very few super tasters in the world. The people who can actually tell the difference, blinded, this coffee is this, and that's a banger, and that, and, it's incredibly hard to become a sommelier. It's incredibly hard. So there are people out there who claim to know the difference. Odds are statistically that it's in their heads. That being said, I've never had Black Rifle
My
coffee. I
feelings
want to
don't
try it.
care about your facts.
Absolutely. I've never had it, but I will absolutely try it. I'm kind of curious about it, right? And that what ends up happening in these categories is that, there is some variety switching, but generally speaking, people find a coffee, they stick to it when they like it, and they don't move off of it. So, the greatest thing that they can do, Christopher has taught us this, stunts or fights from a marketing perspective. What a great stunt! What a great amount of WOM. And then people who are, either because 90% of people drink coffee with stuff in it, can't really tell the underlying thing, they're going to try it. And if they like it, they're going to keep buying it. And so I anticipate that this will be, a profit positive move for them, to the extent that they can make it a strike that becomes a profit center, even better, with people donating stuff, because people are going to say, like, what are you going to do next? For the next 4th of July, or what's the next kind of aha that you're going to hijack with it? And to me, it's the greatest thing, because what I'm trying to point out here is that to win in coffee, it's actually not about the coffee. Yes, you have to be above a threshold and taste and all that kind of good stuff, right? But most people cannot tell, or most people put stuff in their coffee that they cannot tell. It is bought on emotion. It is bought around the brand, around the founder problem fit, and that they have such a clear POV with it that I think they are going to come out ahead on this front, because of this. And, you know, and it's perfect, right? It's passion driving for some, polarizing to others. And that's exactly where you want to be, right? You don't want to be in the mealy middle there.
And here's another interesting component about this. They could decide to do this in perpetuity. So just like the NFL with the Super Bowl halftime show, what are they going to do this year, right? And Old Navy has been doing this with the 4th of July at a much lower scale forever. Decades ago, they started coming out every year with a custom 4th of July t-shirt with that date on it. And they've been doing it for, I think, the better part of 20 years. So again, not quite at the same scale, but if you're an Old Navy fan, and many people do collect them, I want my 2026 because I have my 2024 and my 2025, et cetera. And so whether you're doing it at an over-the-top scale or whether you're just issuing a t-shirt every year, there's an interesting opportunity. What are the moments in time that are important to your supers that you can barnacle onto in a very powerful way? It really, this is very smart thinking. And the question for everybody to consider is, let's assume for a second that there is a 4th of July like video opportunity for you to do something fun, something over the top, maybe something celebratory that is 100% focused on your super. It's entertainment and enjoyment as a gift to your super. Every single one of us has one of those. At Category Pirates, we're thinking, what's our version of that? It's a good way to think about how to do something that stands out, is radically different, and in not promoting your product, but doing something for your super, what that shows is, I care about you. When we market our product, we communicate, I want your money. When we market your problem, your opportunity, things that you like, things that you're interested in, people think, oh, they want to help me.
Well, I'll layer on one last comment on, because I'm actually looking at their latest investor relations deck for Q1 of 26. And what's fascinating is that the first page says America's coffee. How do you get away with not mentioning your product or your category in your ad? It's because your brand is so different already, because the vast majority of coffees are branded to a local region, Kona coffee where we are, right? Or maybe a country, it's a small country. America's coffee is ridiculous in the sense of, like, well, what does that mean? Like,
Well, and if anybody
beans
could
from
lay
every
that
state?
claim, it would be Starbucks,
Right,
but
right.
Starbucks never did, right?
They play the regional game, right? It's Sumatra from this location and everything else, and they claim the Americas
One's
landscape, which
product
is great.
oriented, right?
Yeah.
One's product oriented. This coffee is from Sumatra. This coffee is from Kona. And one is customer super oriented.
Yes.
My customer is a quote unquote American patriot. So this is regardless of whether it's from uh, uh, Sumatra or Kama Sutra, it's America's coffee.
Well put. And I'm looking at probably some free parody advice for Black Rifle Coffee. Not that they asked for it, but like, I'm seeing K cups. That's a distribution channel that I know well, right? Obviously, they sell roasts and grounds and beans. That's kind of the traditional grocery strategy. The part that I'm the most interested in, if I look at their deck, is ready to drink coffee because and let me connect the dots here. What the ad shows is they have deep, deep clarity into who their super is, right? And who their super is outdoors, launching fireworks, driving around in jeeps and this and that, and camping and fishing and all that kind of stuff. It suggests outdoor, ready to drink. You don't have a Keurig machine with you. You don't have a coffee brewer with you. You know, Bree probably knows better than we do about, making coffee where there's a lot of trickiness to make it. But like, if you think about the Japanese coffee market where they really dominate well is on the vending side, because Japan has the legendary, yeah, I can get cold iced coffee and I can get hot coffee in a can. Who'd have thunk, right? But it's at the point of sweat for Gatorade, right? And at the point of like, I need a caffeine fix because my super is outdoors and out and about and this and that, whether hot or cold. To me, what it's really showing is that this is a distribution play and it's a channel strategy play. And if they can figure out how to get their ready to drink coffee, which will compete directly with energy drinks, which is probably their super consumer, that's going to be the key for this. And that, again, I don't know them. I don't know where they're headed. And, there's probably some puts and takes about what we're describing. All I that their clarity on who their super is gives them clarity on the go to market strategy.
We'll see you next week, pirates.